Same.
On post-election day. We have Public Works in today. We'll just start right there.
Great. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. You have the agenda in front of you. Starting off with West Longview Recycling Center. I gave you both a couple of pictures. One from yesterday or mid-morning of a clean lot with a few, the brown dumpsters are cardboard. The middle one was glass, the green one. The ones on the left are tin, the red ones. I believe white is mixed paper. And the second, so we opened it up, did a press release yesterday saying the West Longview Recycling Center is open. It's been closed for quite a bit since we had a lot of illegal dumping at that site. The second picture is what we found this morning at daybreak. Did take long for people to dump garbage. Those are not recyclables there. They're actually people's garbage. I believe staff was going through it to see if they found any names or numbers in there. Luckily, that's a small, amount of dumping. Before when we closed it, we had truckloads, but not good for day one. So we put it back out on social media, show them the picture. A lot of people were unhappy that they're excited to have it back open, and we're unhappy that people are already starting to do that now.
Well, I was telling you, lots of good press that they were excited to have that back open, and then I don't know what's wrong with people. You try to provide the service for them and they just don't take care of it.
I agree. And it's a lot nicer than it was before. Before it was just a gravel lot with a lot of potholes. We try to keep them out of there, but it's just, like I said, it's a gravel lot. In the first picture there, you see a couple posts in the back, some poles. Those are lights on there, and also a couple cameras, but they're far enough back. We didn't actually see what was going on with this particular dumping. But hopefully, like I said, with self-patrol, the sheriff office knows it's open, but they only got so many patrols in that area. Hopefully this doesn't happen very often. We need to keep this place open for West Longview. It's important for us.
Yeah.
So,
well, I know you worked on this a long time, so my thanks to you and your staff you looked at different spots. I mean, you tried real hard.
Thank you.
So we do appreciate it. I'm sure I'm speaking for all of us.
And the visibility is a lot better than it was before. Actually, in the second picture, you can see the guardrail behind that one dumpster. We had a lot of shrubbery, blackberry briars in years past, and so we mowed it on both sides. So you can see it pretty good from the road system. So hopefully that will deter people from dumping there also. Our second item today.
Mike, do you have Public Works employees that drive by on a regular basis that you can kind of, okay, so you're in charge. Great.
Yeah, Sean's recently moved out to Coal Creek, so he drives by it daily.
Does he run a lawnmower too?
Are you in my district now, Sean? Oh, okay.
And we, of course, our Longview shop is located within half a mile from that location.
That's true. Yeah. So one of those things that kind of like vandalism, if you don't get on it right away, then it gets out of control.
Correct.
And you can get on it where people kind of learn there's a quick response if they do stuff like this, and that's about the only way you can fight it, because unless you can persuade somebody like Bill Cox to camp out there and kind of monitor it. Do you remember Bill?
No.
The tire recycler.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Now I remember. Yes.
Is it posted that there's video cameras?
Surveillance, yes. And there's also, we cleaned up all our signs about what's legal to drop there and what you cannot drop at that location. But the very first sign when you drive in says under surveillance, site is under surveillance.
And the reason the cameras didn't capture this person is?
I think it was too far away at that point, but we'll have to readjust this because our posts we only have 2 posts right now for lights. Then we put them in the very back because there's actually no trees. It's just a flat area. I think we're gonna have to put a couple more posts up closer to the entrance because I think they may have just dropped and walked it back there.
Or better cameras.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah,
That'd be the other option, whichever one is cheaper.
Yes. And also waste control is at those sites 2 days a week when they do pickups there. So I guess minimal patrol, but they do go out there 2 days a week. So. HOJ North Stairwell update. I know we've been working on HOJ for quite a while and the issues of smells in certain parts of that facility. We start remediation on Monday, November 18th and plan closing that up December 4th. I believe risk management might do a quick test behind that, but we're doing painting, lighting, exhaust fans or ceiling fans. So we'll get it all ready and then hopefully get that thing open first, second week of December. We got new lighting in the north entrance of that facility. I got 2 weeks ago. So we're really close to being done working over there for a little bit.
And we're feeling pretty good. We found the leak.
We found a certain sources, yes.
I know it's difficult with that building.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
So it's in certain areas where we felt air was coming in that we closed off, which I think was the main culprit. So. And then we're now looking at doing some additional lighting on the west side of HOJ because we lit up the north side so well. And the south side got new LEDs a few years back when we redid the parking lot. But a lot of people are now using the west entrance, especially if you're coming from the but the jail or juvenile hall. They walk the sidewalks. Now it's a little bit darker on that side. So we're looking at getting a few extra lights over there. Fairly similar to probably what we did on Museum.
That's where all the trees are too, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So makes sense.
Correct. I'm talking about trees and parking lots. We're looking, we had asked staff to look at this north lot and we're repaving it this summer of 2025, but looking at trees and lighting in that lot because this time of year, or no, it gets so dark so early.
Dark, yeah.
Yeah, that a lot of those limbs are now low enough that they're covering up some of those lights in there. Plus when the company, whoever wins the bid next year for the north lot, we'll have to have some clearance to get their equipment inside the front lot here. So we'll probably work on that this winter. It might be weekend work just so because I know how full our parking lots are.
Perfect.
Annex update. As you know, we're getting a new roof put on by WeatherGuard. Last week, when we had those heavy rains, we had some issues with some drainage on the rooftop. That causes some issues in the basement, mainly on the unoccupied old Compass area. We already pulled the carpet out of that side. We're replacing that carpet. But it still is holding us back on the OPD move, still moving forward with that and looking at ordering cubicles or walls here in the next, hopefully, week or two.
Yeah, hopefully sooner. I've got some revised drawings from our correctional industries. Hopefully we'll get those ordered. Even though we had a lot of water damage, unfortunately, it shouldn't prevent us from at least moving that first group into that I'm calling it the southeast side of the old Compass area. I also have an update on architectural plans with our firm that we have on call, AETA. And they've given me back a proposal. I've requested to meet with them again on that. I feel that it is outside of what it should be cost-wise. So we're going to go back to the table with them and see if we can get a revised proposal from them, something that we can bring to the board and feel good about recommending. So
We'll work over here.
correct. You know, the nature of attorneys require certain levels of confidentiality, we're learning, which usually means office walls constructed. And so due to HVAC and mechanical issues and electrical, we have to look to, an architect to provide those plans. So that's what we'll hopefully be bringing the board next. Yeah, other than that, it's moving forward.
Next was Hodges. I probably should have put David Hodges.
David, yeah. So David
Sorry.
Hodges, who is our lobbyist, who's been very, I think, active in getting with us and meeting and learning about a lot of our projects that we're trying to secure funding for. And so we did that tour this morning and we were gone for most of the morning and we went to 3 different locations. We went to LT1 to show him both the road issue that we're having there on Tootle Park Road and then also, of course, LT1 itself and the shoreline I guess, destabilization that we're seeing. And then we also went to the landfill to show him, we showed him our fill, we showed him tipping trucks, we showed him our flare system, and talked about our PUD project. So we talked about that. And then we actually also stopped by Riverside Park and showed him, future, hopefully future grounds of our legacy park program. So those are, with the exception of the landfill, the two ones, the LT1 and Riverside Park, are two of the few items we're kind of going with him to Congress to try to get some additional funding. So,
Yeah.
And Dave is also the lobbyist for PUD. So he is well aware of the project and had lots of conversations with Steve Taylor on this project. So he just was happy to actually see the site of what we want to do.
Yeah, and pretty sure I mentioned to my colleagues that after our meeting with him that he was gonna ask for an appropriation for building that, if we had to build another road into LT1.
yes.
Plus, he understands we're wanted to start the process in changing the Army Corps' authority or give them a little more direction.
Mhm.
Yeah, which won't happen overnight, as we all know, but
Yeah, and I think he reiterated several times about how thankful he was to be able to actually see it, especially LT1. I don't know that you can talk about it all day long, but until you see it and
get out there and take a look at it. It's hard to get.
yeah, it pulls a lot into perspective. And he did make a comment that on the federal level, national level, people are just shocked in DC when they hear that we're still dealing with the aftermath, of the eruption. And it's like, yeah. And so I think for him to see it, it just helps us. So that was this morning. I love site visits. I don't get out much, so those are always fun.
Did you get to show him the shooting range at all?
We drove by that and pointed out the trap houses and the gun range.
He thought when we mentioned, I think the sheriff had, and I trying to call, I think he said 11 different contracts with agencies and stuff out there. He thought that would be a real bonus to know as far as for that road.
For that road, correct.
You can't really cut off access to that.
That's more of a regional facility.
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
larger
And
area.
it was
Yeah.
busy today.
That does
I
make
mean,
sense.
Yeah, it was really
It was
busy.
really
out there
busy
today.
today. I mean,
Wildlife
surprisingly.
uses it, all the police departments use it.
State Patrol. Yeah.
Anyway, good. I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, good day to do it too. It was
Yeah, it
gorgeous out
was-
today.
I like
Great day.
David. I'm really comfortable with their firm.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
Our last item is purchasing policy, which we're going to turn over to a couple colleagues of ours. But before we go there, I need to go back to the landfill this afternoon. So I was going to leave while they do purchasing policy. I don't know if you had any miscellaneous items for me.
You'd rather be at the landfill than with us.
No.
You can
No
say
comment.
it.
He doesn't get questions at the landfill.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ashley Clausen, Purchasing Services. Today, I'm here to share with you some proposed updates to the current procurement policy. The need for these changes really came from the legislation that we came a couple months and talked to you about with the small works roster. We decided that while we were in there already making some changes, it was a good time to clean everything up and try to make it more user-friendly. So in doing that, we added and removed some things, we made some updates, and we did some housekeeping and some rearranging. But for anyone who has seen the policy previously, the core information is still the same.
Did you all receive a copy of the policy this morning?
Yeah, well, I did. It was in her.
I was not here this morning, so I haven't seen it.
But this really started with RCW, right?
Yes.
A change. And so while we were in that policy, we were cleaning some stuff up.
Yes. So you were given a bullet list of some of the things that these are the big things that we have changed in the policy right now. Some of the addition, we included exclusion for certain services. Services do not have a statutory guideline limit. So these are things that are just specialized. There's not very many providers in this area that do these things, or it's already practiced, time sensitive. We included employee benefit services, public utility services, postage, permitting fees and licensing. Translation services is one that we found. Veterinary services for animals in the custody of animal control. That is a new one to the county, as well as county fair entertainment, and then classes provided with that can be first aid, the victim impact panel, things of that nature. Also, with the additions, we included some more authority for the departments to sign amendments. Amendments with no dollar value, for example, those that are for time only. A contractor needs 2 more months to finish a project, no dollar value, that can be signed by the department. Multi-year agreements that include price escalation. A common one that we put in is the CPI increase, and we usually cap that at a certain percentage. If those multi-year agreements have that in there, the board has already signed the original agreements, then the department would be able to sign those going forward instead of having to come back every single year. And then that also ties in with the next one, which is that caps at $50,000 total. Right now, the procurement policy gives departments and electeds up to 25,000. So we just put 50 because that aligns it with what the current signature authority is for those people already. And the next big change to the policy are the removals. The matrices that were originally included in the back of the policy, which it's the second page of your handout. This is the example of what is in the back of that currently. You can see it is a lot of information in a very small space with a lot of references to RCW. We took these out, and then we took all of the information and we detailed it more in the policy. So you can see that in section 2, it is number 2.3 that starts on page 6, I believe. Yes, page 6 and 7, you could see we took that information and just put it right into the policy so it's all in one place. We are still going to have a matrix such as this. It is just not going to be part of the policy. It will be more of a guideline for the process.
Okay, so this is gone.
Yes.
These 2 pages.
Yes.
The ad.
Yes, that matrix itself, like I said, it's got a lot of RCW on there. Our policy was really hinged on the county employees going and looking at that RCW. It was not detailed anywhere in our current policy, and so we took that out. We spelled everything out for everybody. And then the other big removals are the definitions. We thought they were pretty self-explanatory. It took up a lot of space. Contracting roles and responsibilities, that was detailed in the current policy. That is more process than it is policy. We took that out. It's very restrictive. And then we also removed amending expired contracts because expired contracts are dead. So we took that completely out. So there is no misunderstanding there. And then some of the updates, we did update the solicitation thresholds to include leases. Leases were previously left out of the policy. They have to follow the same guidelines as materials, supplies, and equipment. And then the thresholds to align with the legislative changes, which under 10,000, there was no change, no bids required for under 10,000. between 10,000 and 40,000, it's 3 bids. That is more detailed in here now. And then 40,000 to 350, inviting all on the roster, 350 plus, no change. That is a formal solicitation. And then we did also leave out the option to direct contract. That was one of the things that required a lot more reporting to the state, another resolution. And with our on-call contracts that we're going to try to get in place, we feel like that
I
probably
was
wasn't
gonna say, that's
necessary.
kind of why you went to the on-call contracts,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
To stay away from that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is it.
No, so on this
Oh.
point, we'll probably be coming back, excuse me, come back again in the next week. I want to give you time to marinate on this and have additional questions. I know we just saw it this morning for the first time or this afternoon. I just want to get some feedback on it before we put it before the board on a Tuesday meeting. Probably towards the end of November is what we're looking at.
And I'm assuming, or maybe I shouldn't assume, legal has looked through your stuff.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was
So what you've got printed here, they're all good with?
Yes.
yeah, Ashley and legal team worked on this for quite a few weeks, if not months, to get this in a great order.
The threshold of $10,000 to $40,000 requiring 3 bids, is that one of the state requirements? Is there no flexibility on that? And the reason I ask, it seems to me that we're still talking about relatively small amounts. Is it worth the expense? Is there an advantage to going out for 3 bids when it's that small of an amount?
And that is something that is definitely up for discussion. RCW actually says that anything under 40, the board can adopt in the policy to just dispense of bidding altogether for up to 40.
Oh, up to 40, okay.
So, I mean, we can definitely,
I would think that's the kind of simplification that would work. 10 to 40 used to buy a whole lot, Now it's not, I don't think it's really worth the additional expense of doing 3 bids and the bid awards and the public hearing and all of the notification, and all that stuff just adds to the costs. And
Yeah.
I would be comfortable with making the threshold
just.
starting at the 40,000,
Okay,
Yeah,
if the state allows us to do that.
I'd agree with that.
Okay.
I like that change.
Mhm.
I won't argue that one.
Of course, we'll still do our due diligence on the projects, make sure it's a, responsible value we're receiving on those.
Yeah.
And then, so we had one more miscellaneous item at the bottom of there.
Yeah, if there were no other questions on that one. So during the investigation into all of the procedures and processes, and, I was looking at other counties and their policies and how they do things. One of the things that we found out is that public bid openings do not necessarily have to be in a public meeting.
Right.
They
Right.
just have to be available to the public. So I've spoke with different staff members, and we were wanting to bring to you to see if the board would be okay with bid openings now being held in Public Works. So we would still be on Zoom. We would still be posting them to the internet, to the webpage. It just would not be in this office during a meeting. And that would help with scheduling. That would help with,
So we really didn't start doing the public meeting type bid openings until this year.
I think, but they were always on the Tuesday 9 a.m.s
Mhm.
previously, and then we swapped
Oh,
around.
Never during our meetings. That's
Mhm.
just,
Okay.
that was a little bit later on in the afternoons, I think,
Oh,
or maybe 11 o'clock. I think maybe they were 11 o'clock.
Yes, they were.
We were never, we were
That's
never
correct.
there.
Yeah.
An extended meeting, but even we didn't, we
could
adjourned
just-
Tuesday morning and we were
You
done.
could just do them right out of your
Yeah.
shop over there.
Correct.
As long as
It used to be I don't even know when, we still have a bid clock with a sign that says this. I mean, so it did used to occur at Public Works at some point when the sign's still up. And I think we kind of jumped on the public meeting because the public meetings were already posted, so all of that legwork was done and it was already recorded because we were now set up with Zoom capability, which wasn't happening in the past. So I think that was why. And then the Tuesday change was because I believe that the contractors have 48 hours, so business days, to respond or deny or pull back their bid. Anyway, and if we did it on a Wednesday, that it didn't give them then the time frame with us being closed on Friday. So I don't know. It does seem a little bit cumbersome how it's currently being practiced. So we're kind of just seeing your feel on how you would prefer it done and if you're okay with it occurring at a different location.
You're okay with them taking your work?
We checked with her first.
One of the first
If she
calls.
was going to say no, then we wouldn't be here.
It's only fair, since we've taken public records requests into our office, to let you guys do the bidding.
It's an even trade.
I don't think we have any issue with that.
I don't either.
All right, thank you.
That's everything we have, so thank you.
Now, of course, we can't speak for our other colleague. He may have a question or two.
So do we have anything else for this? I see Judge Hahn is here. Is that for the later? Okay. Bailey wants to talk? Oh,
Bailey?
sorry, Bailey. Huh?
Speaking of public records requests.
Public Records Officer for Cowlitz County. My name's Bailey Silva. I just wanted to touch base with you guys this afternoon since we don't have a Monday morning meeting. Agenda review items that I have updating the public records policy on the Tuesday morning meeting. And I can go through it. Most of the changes that took place were actually just updating the processes since we've transitioned to the centralized public records, which has been happening for a year now. The biggest changes are reflected in section 2.2 and 2.3. Section 2.2 is waiver of charges. So what we've added is that Cowlitz County has the discretion to waive charges for records requests valued at $2 or less on the basis that the expense of processing the payment exceeds the cost of providing the records. Right now, we don't really have a basis to waive any fees, so this provides like a hard, which means that people could get the fees differ for the way in which you receive the records. So if you are wanting a copy of scanned documents that exist in paper format, it's 10 cents. So you could have 20 of those. It's 5 cents for every 4 electronic records that are transferred electronically, which is typically the situation. We're 90% of the time providing records through our online system. It's actually 160 documents, so people would still have access to 160 records per request for under $2.
That's quite a bit, really.
It
But it
is.
seems like it's quite a bit.
It is quite a bit, but I would say lately a lot of our requests have been over that.
Have they?
Yeah, because a lot of times it's searching for emails, which just is a significant amount of records.
What I'm hearing here is we're changing the policy, you kind of reflect the changes we've already put in place.
Yep.
And we've watched those changes over the last months and they've actually gone really well, so. Okay,
I think they've been good changes for the entire county. I think we've, like I presented in August, the decrease in the amount of time it takes us to respond to requests, along with the, I think it was like a 61% amount of increase in records requests that we received, which just added a lot of workload to the departments.
yeah. New requests aren't slowing down.
Nope. And then the only other section is the 2.3, which is managing multiple frequent requests from an individual. We just kind of added that language in there to discuss that when the same requester simultaneously submits multiple requests, that we can process them in a way that allows multiple people to receive requests and records from us versus just one individual taking up all of our time to provide records to when multiple people are requesting access to records.
I got you.
That makes sense.
Any issues?
Okay, thank you.
So we don't have anything till 2:30? We're gonna send a note and see if Kaylee wants to come up early. We'll give it a couple minutes here.
Well, yesterday I left here to go home a little bit after 5 o'clock. And I walked down to second floor to see if they had a percentage of voter turnout. They weren't anywhere as close to coming up with a percentage because the hallway downstairs, the central hallway was filled, almost standing room only.
Yeah,
People after 5 o'clock that wanted to get their.
I'm very
Valid.
curious on what the turnout's gonna be because the initial numbers, when they come through, that's a lot of votes,
Right.
those initial numbers. So
Well, it was
I'm off.
51% turnout with yesterday's numbers. So that didn't include the weekend and.
Right. And a lot came in less, so it's gonna be a high turnout. Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah. That is.
Well, for contested presidential races, that's typical. That they don't happen all that often. Although they've been more tightly contested though since 2000. But
I know the hallway was busy.
I can give one update.
Sure.
Just since we're waiting. Savannah Clement, Public Services. I was ready to bring the Hall of Justice feasibility proposal to the board. But Commissioner Mortensen wasn't going to be here, so I wanted to wait until everyone was here. So I do have a proposal from AEDA, and just a reminder, this is for them to put together a feasibility study to give information to the board on whether it would behoove us to rehab our existing facility or look at rebuilding a new one, maybe at another location. So I had worked with them to get, I felt like the price was too high. And so we went back and forth quite a few different times on different proposals. And I think this one's probably to me, it's probably higher than what I would like to see, but it is probably as low as we're going to get. So I will be bringing that to the board next Wednesday, but I'll send it in advance, kind of like I've been trying to do in the past. So you'll see it ahead of time, but I just kind of want to give you a heads up that we were planning on bringing that next week.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up a little early. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, Commissioners. Camilla Eastman and Kaylee McKay with the Auditor's Office. Before you, we have our quarterly update for ARPA, showing you where we're at with our spending as well as what's currently allocated. We do have a couple requests for the board as well, one from juvenile detention and one from Carroll's Water. You'll find copies of those requests attached behind the flow chart.
So I did have a question on the grant that we made available to Woodland for fixing the traffic at exit 21.
Yes.
And there was some question about whether they would actually be able to spend all that money within the deadlines. Are they spending it?
They are. So we have had 3 reimbursement requests so far. We're at nearly 350,000. And they do anticipate being able to spend all of that by the deadline.
Okay.
That is our hope.
So we have to have all these committed by the end of this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have remaining funds in our direct obligation category. That's what needs to be allocated by the end of 2024.
That's the yellow line?
So
Is that the
little
yellow
over
line down below?
Yes, the 673.
673.
Yes.
We have 2 requests to complete that out. One is about 970 for the juvenile for the 2 projects.
Yes, in total for both projects, the washer and dryer and the HVAC, it would be 970 total.
And 20,000 for Carol's.
Yes.
And my request from the last time we discussed this for additional for the water sewer price projects due to the cost increase. So-
How much was that?
Well, I could absorb all of it because my costs have increased by a significant amount. So
So we have more requests than dollars left, right? So how do we deal with that? Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, we do have more requests than what's remaining.
And Kelso's not spent any of the money that we allocated to them?
We have not received a reimbursement request yet. We're going to reach back out just to check in.
So I do believe the park was finished, so I don't know if maybe they're getting all the paperwork finished up to submit the reimbursement request, because we won't pay anybody until they've made their payments for the reimbursement, so they may be finishing stuff up on their end.
And we still have 95,000 to go at Riverside, is that right? They've only spent 47, but we've got another 95 that we allocated, right? That's for the overlay.
That project is complete, so we'll probably be doing the reimbursement fourth quarter. But we did have some funding available, and I didn't want to jump in, but because you asked, of the 95,000, I think the overlay was around 75,000. So Alyssa would like to request just to use the remaining that's already allocated to put in striping for basketball courts and tennis courts. So the amount doesn't change, but the request changes because leftover funds. So
So would this Carol's request finish everything they were doing up there?
Yes, they said they needed
Kind of look
additional,
through this, it looks like it should, right?
I believe so. And I believe they were attending this meeting via Zoom. I don't know if they're on there.
I don't know what Commissioner
Susan,
Weber thinks, but I think 20,000 to finish the whole thing seems reasonable.
Yeah. That makes sense. Susan, I'm curious if the cost overruns are serious enough, do you anticipate canceling one of those projects?
So this time I'll introduce myself. Good afternoon, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. So I have been running the numbers and working on the projects with the cost overruns and the number of customers and number of connections. Which one of these we're required to do by ecology and Department of Health, depending on which system it is, and trying to figure out a way to maximize the dollars and use our capital request. I am going to be working on how I can reduce the Shadow Mountain cost, not for the full project, just to get this down into something that we could get all of these projects done in some form. All of my projects are overrunning except for the Tuda wastewater treatment plant, because when we did the design of that, we did cut a big ticket item because of the timing that it would take. So currently my costs have increased by a lot, almost double. And I'm going back and I'm found that the cost estimates that I were given when we first made our request, unfortunately, I did not realize that they were in 2017 dollars. And so when we made the request, we did not inflate them an adequate amount. So that is part of what has gotten us into this situation where my projects are coming in quite a bit higher than, I went back and found the source documents and they're 17. So we did not take into the 2020 inflation that happened. We inflated it like a 3% versus a 30-40%, which is what was occurring at that time, unfortunately. I am working on trying to reduce our Shadow Mountain project back to a closer amount to what it was, because that is the most expensive and does not benefit our existing users. That
Didn't that project also involve a little bit of project creep for wasn't there going to be an expanded tank or a reservoir up there to serve the
Yes.
entire system?
Yes, and
Right.
so, and that's what I'm looking at, how we can revise those project drawings to get it back down. because that project has crept up to almost $5 million. And that is the project that is the most expensive on my list. The rest are more in line.
Although, to be honest, that tank is justification to go forward with it because there aren't that many people who live on the Shadow Mountain project. If I remember correctly, the numbers are pretty low,
Correct.
even though we got a congressional allocation.
Yes, and that congressional allocation, we're estimating that with the way it's designed right now, it will, until there's more expansion out there, add 30 customers to our system. So it's not a great increase to our system or for existing users, whereas the Tootle wastewater treatment plant is about half of our sewer users. So it, really pans out and justifying of the percentage of users that are going to be benefited. The Ryderwood emergency system is also another one that would benefit a big percentage of our system. And then the Camelot loss is a project that the price went up greatly during design. I'm still not sure why it's so expensive, but that one is an ecology requirement because the system is failing.
So those costs that you cut out can't be transferred over to the revenue loss side of the ledger, right? Because she's talking about the infrastructure that's specifically provided for sewer and water projects.
The direct qualification, yes.
That the right-hand column is all limited. So if she has savings, we can't use that to do things to parks and roads and stuff. So, yeah.
And part of my plan is we are going to bid the other projects first before we bid Shadow Mountain to see how the costs really come in. Are they coming in with my engineer's estimates or were my engineers really elbow out to make sure that they weren't the low bidder?
Well, if you can believe the information that was spread during the campaign, there's been a 27% increase in costs since 2020.
Mhm.
That's, I hadn't realized it was that cumulative. That's rough.
Yeah.
And those costs never go back down.
No. Any other water sewer questions for me? Okay, I'm here, ready to answer.
So you two have been in communication with the Treasury Department with all the rules and regulations on how to interpret the laws. Have they provided any suggestions on how to take care of the unforeseen project delays and how we handle the money left over in case some projects don't get spent? Or are they just suggesting if you don't have it all specified, we take it all back?
So they haven't given anything specific. They did give guidance, though, that they're recognizing that there's delays in everything. So that's where the MOUs and the contracts come into play. So if we have these contracts and MOUs in place by the end of this year, and let's say we find out in 6 months they can't finish the project, we are allowed to take that funding and obligate it somewhere else.
Oh, okay. We
So
don't
they
have
are
to
giving
specify-
us,
okay.
yep, they're recognizing that things are not being done
Mhm.
in a timely manner due to, special circumstances. So
Yeah.
they did give guidance on that.
Uncharacteristically flexible.
Yes.
It is. But the 673,000, that's still unobligated money and we need to make a decision on it one way or the other.
Correct. I would like by probably within the next couple of weeks. So we will need to make the MOUs or the contracts and have those in place by the end of December.
Which means we need to be making a decision soon so you can get those MOUs written up.
Yes.
Yes.
How'd we determine the juvenile? Did maintenance look at all that equipment or? I mean, do you, maybe Judge knows how we determined?
Judge Hahn, presiding judge, Superior Court. I don't have information in regard to the HVAC, so I can't address that. I can address the washer and dryer requests. We have one commercial set of washer and dryers that we use for bedding. And then we have 4 common household washer and dryer that are used for the clothing, towels, et cetera. All of these are, from my understanding, originate from 1999 when the building opened. On the commercial washer, my understanding is it's done. It's no longer working.
No longer functional?
Right. And not to speak for maintenance, but they are not able to find parts for these items the same. And also, they're basically taping them together at this point. So they're worn out and really need to be replaced. So again, we have one set of commercial, the washer, each the washer and the dryer, 13,000. And then 4 sets of the common household washer and dryer. For 4 of the washer be 3,400 and 4 of the dryer would be 3,400 as well. So 32,800 for those items. And then the HVAC, I don't have information.
Okay, thank you. I don't know that we're prepared to make any decision today, right? I'm not sure I'm comfortable. I'd like to know more about how they come up with the HVAC. Have you had calls over there that it's not going? Yeah, I'm just, maintenance would know, I would think, right?
So I am aware of C and D pods that are not being utilized, and Judge Hahn can probably correct me on some of this. It's off of memory. When Jason Thomas was the facilities lead, he would have to kind of like rob parts off of the C and D units because they weren't being utilized to house people to repair and fix A and B. But as far as that goes, that's the extent of what I know. I haven't been alerted of any like failures recently, but that's not to say that it hasn't happened. It's just that I haven't been aware of it. You know, we're more than happy to work on quotes with juvenile staff if and come back to the board with further information.
Would
we
you
have not
mind-
worked on it.
Yeah, would you mind doing that? I'm
Yeah,
kinda-
no problem.
Kind of running a little bit blind here. I understand the washer dryer, and I think Carol's, they print up a thing that's pretty understandable, but I think I need more clarity on the HVAC.
Yeah, I mean, we could bring,
So has, Savannah, do you know, has our CIP committee reviewed this? for funding?
not
Has
this-
it not been submitted?
no, we have not received. Well, let me take that back. We didn't have it in our scoring submissions. Now, those are certain projects that meet the policy requirements. But I can go back and see if there was submissions made by juvenile staff and we had asked them to put it in more of the 5 years facilities capital plan. I don't want to answer that and be wrong. So I'll double check that and let you know. But we can probably start working on this. I just don't know for time's sake how long it'll get for bids to get a really good idea on cost by like next Wednesday, but we'll start now.
And that may not be as critical. We're curious of what units we're having trouble with. I mean, are we just looking at A and B? Or are we looking at the whole thing, or, you know what I mean?
No, assuming that it hasn't been replaced since 1999, much like the washer and dryer situation, I would imagine it would be a full a full, but I could be wrong. We could be just looking at rooftop units, A, B, C, D, all 4 pods. Without more information, I'd hate to give you guys wrong stuff.
And
So,
unfortunately, it's a little bit of crunch because we're here and we'd like
Right.
to have this done by mid-November,
right.
what we're talking about.
Yes.
We could, I mean, we could get creative. I feel like, we could look at, we have HVAC dollars already allocated in ARPA for specific to the HOJ that the board approved. We could increase that amount with, with an educated guess based off of maybe some feedback we get from HVAC contractors. And then worst case scenario, we just use that extra money towards the HOJ HVAC. Or the board says, no, use that allocation towards juvenile, if you're following. If that makes sense, to allocate the money and set it aside. Yes. Okay, for 2 cells. Well, that's helpful. I should have had Sean come up here. So he just checked the 5-year plan and it looks like there is an HVAC scheduled, but not until 2027. And it's for 2 of the units. And he didn't tell me the price. Say that again? Okay, so 250, much, much less.
So we have it in for two units in 2027. And we're estimated 250,000 to,
That's what's on the facilities plan. And I don't know what the request was for. I'm not sure.
well, it's requested for 930.
Okay.
So
So
I'm just
more
trying to figure
information.
out where all those numbers come from. I'm not sure who put this together.
We received this from George Moya,
Mhm.
which I'm not positive who he was working with. I did think he was working with someone to put these numbers together.
Yeah, he did get quotes. I thought he was speaking with facilities. I'm not sure about those conversations, so.
So I want to backtrack just a little bit so I can give maybe a better educated recommendation to the board. From what I understood, Public Works is needing more funding for their projects. Is that correct? We are.
Yes.
So at this point in time, I would recommend that the board allocates funding to Public Works to get projects completed that we know are going to finish on time and we can get in an MOU. My concern with the juvenile request outside of the washer and dryer, we are down to a month and a half, which also includes Thanksgiving, Christmas. I'm worried that we will be sending funds back if we don't have requests that are fully buttoned up and ready to go at this
I
point.
got you. I think I understand what you're saying. If it's awarded to Public Works and if this moved up on their scale, they could use those funds to do this.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think that's helpful. No, I still don't think I want to make a decision without Commissioner Mortensen have some
Okay.
input into it, but
Sorry, I feel like I muddied the waters, but we probably have better information probably next week. We can bring the 5-year plan back and go over some old quotes too, just to help them too.
yeah.
We should probably plan on doing that. And the whole idea is Public Works, they can allocate it, they can move their schedule around.
Yep.
Because obviously there's a need, then we want to address, but we just don't want to lose the opportunity to.
Yeah, and I don't really have any heartburn with these two small ones
Yeah, I don't either.
being separated, but
Okay.
for the majority funds, yeah, maybe that.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to add, first off, to clarify, we do use Pod C at times.
Do you?
It depends on what our, who we have in the detention
Okay.
facility or not. So I do know that there is taking of parts out of D. And so they are, again, fixing it with tape and twine idea.
Gotcha.
That said, I know George has been working with someone when he unfortunately is out of town. And I do know, like I said, he's been working with somebody. He had the idea, I think, that and not to put anything on anyone, that maintenance would have the information. So I'm just saying that I think the information may exist. It just unfortunately
Okay.
wasn't information I knew.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be acceptable for you is in order to make sure we meet the deadlines, we just allocate it for facilities and maintenance and their overall capital plan and,
Yes.
okay, thanks.
So just to clarify, we are approving the Carroll's water request. And then we did get a different number just now for the washer and dryer. That sounded like 32,800. George's original request was 40,000. So I recommend that we could go with the 32,800. We do get quite a bit of investment earnings from the ARPA fund that the board could potentially, if it does happen to go over that 32.8, we could assist covering the remaining with some investment earnings that we move back to the general fund anyways every year. But then we have a realistic number. So I also don't want to put into an MOU 40,000 and it come under and then, right.
Commissioner Weber, you good with those two?
I'm
I'm good with those two, as you stated, and then
Perfect.
the big funds will sit with Commissioner Mortensen next week and get an answer for you on that.
Perfect. We'll be back next week.
Tentatively, though, that the yellow figure we can allocate to facilities and maintenance. Just so they can get the
HVAC.
paper going so that, so that works. We still have to give the okay,
Right,
go forward with it, but
Yes,
that would be the direction that.
okay.
pending next week's overview. Okay.
Okay, just so I think I'm clear. We give them that direction, but it still would take approval from us
Yes.
to solidify that. So, okay. Then I can live with that. Yeah, I just want to make sure he had some input.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, well, so we'll be back next week then to discuss that.
Remember,
piece
next
further.
week is a short week.
It is,
Oh,
isn't it?
No
Yes.
Monday, no Monday or Friday. so-
Love those weeks. They're my favorite.
Okay, thanks, ladies.
Great.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
commissioners.
Thank you, commissioners.
I think we had one exec session.
Hello, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. Yes, I'm requesting an executive session for collective bargaining.
For an hour?
No, I hope not. I would say 10 minutes.
10 minutes. That was right. Collective bargaining, 10 minutes. Okay. We will adjourn to executive session. Is that this? Okay, okay, good. Okay, back for executive session. No decisions were rendered. I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Jessica Warren, Human Resources again. I have a number of requests for IT, the IT department, and I will go over them all together. So the first request is to reclassify the database programmer specialist to salary grade 350 at step 5. Next item is to reclassify the senior network analyst to salary grade 330 and placement at step 5. Number 3 is to reclassify the enterprise application specialist developer position and place at salary grade 320 and place at step 2. Next item is to reclassify the network analyst to salary grade 275 and place at step 2. Next one is to reclassify and retitle the enterprise security analyst to a security engineer at salary grade 310. And this is a vacant position that will be posted. Next item is to reclassify and retitle the systems analyst to systems engineer at salary grade 300. And this is also a vacant position, so it will be posted. Next item is to add additional salary grades to the IT support specialist. Currently, we just have specialist 2 at salary grade 220. Adding a specialist 1 at salary grade 200. Adding a specialist 3 at salary grade 240. Adding a specialist 4 at salary grade 260. And a specialist 5 at salary grade 280. These aren't new positions being created. It's just adding levels for current employees to potentially move up based off of experience skills set. And the next item is to move the IT deputy director to, in his current salary grade, to step 6, and to also keep his July 2025 step date. And then the final item is to move the ERP manager to step 7, which is the equivalent step to her current temporary promotion. So that temporary promotion will no longer be. And that's all.
Okay.
So Jessica, to kind of summarize or review, I think our discussions have made it pretty clear that we are not competitive in the market. We are at risk of losing more employees to other employers. So our strategy is to recognize that reality, make more salary available for our employees and future hires, to create the kind of stability we need for an ever increasingly more effective IT department.
Yes, we've seen a lot of movement in the IT department, and we're hoping that this will create stability for current employees and to create a more attractive position for new employees to come on board.
And of course, that does increase the dollar cost to the general fund or the allocations. But the revenues are adequate to cover what the requests have been.
Yes, and I know Travis has worked with Kathy on those numbers.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, then I would move that we approve the salary adjustments and reclassifications as proposed by our HR director.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. If nobody in the audience, I'll check, see if we have anything there. Seeing no questions or hands raised, call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're good to go.
Thank you,
Thank you.
commissioners.
Thanks.
Anything else for the good of the order? I think we're good.
Good.
We are off Monday. We don't have a meeting on Monday because it's Veterans Day.
Mhm.
So we are off Monday. Our next public meeting will actually be Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.